While the rest of the Midwest settled in for a calm November night, southeastern Wisconsin was unknowingly standing in the crosshairs of a snow machine powered by Lake Michigan itself. Just after midnight, a narrow but explosive lake-effect snow band locked onto Racine and Kenosha, a band so intense that meteorologists later described it as a fire hose of ice pointed straight at the shoreline. Within minutes, flakes the size of quarters were whipping sideways in 30-35 mph gusts, turning porch lights into glowing halos swallowed by white. By 2 a.m., entire neighborhoods were buried under a fast-building blanket of snow, falling at an astonishing 2 inches per hour. Cars parked along residential streets vanished under mounds of powder. Driveways became impassable trenches, and major roads like Highway 32 and Sheridan Road turned into icy corridors where visibility dropped to near zero. People who peeked outside saw a scene straight out of deep winter snow, slamming against windows, trees bending under fresh weight, and distant flashes of thunder lighting up the sky in eerie blue bursts. By dawn, Pleasant Prairie was buried under 13 inches. Racine and Kenosha were paralyzed, and the western shoreline of Lake Michigan, a place that rarely gets hit hardest, suddenly found itself at the center of one of the season's earliest and strongest lake effect events. This wasn't just the first snow of the season. This was winter arriving early and arriving angry. The first signs of trouble rolled in quietly. A thin veil of snow, drifting off Lake Michigan, swirling under street lamps like harmless winter dust. But by midnight, that gentle snowfall had transformed into an unrelenting whiteout as a massive lake-effect band locked in place over southeastern Wisconsin. What began as a soft flurry escalated into a blizzard-like assault, the kind usually reserved for the dead of January. Thick sheets of snow poured from the sky, with mechanical precision stacking up at 2 inches every hour. Whole streets disappeared. Front yards turned into glowing white deserts, and in minutes, the familiar outlines of homes, cars, and sidewalks were swallowed by a storm that refused to let up. Inside their darkened windows, families watched as gusts up to 35 mph blasted snow sideways across their driveways, creating chaotic spirals that danced under flickering porch lights. Snowbanks along the lakefront rose higher and higher, creeping toward garages and swallowing mailboxes whole. Residents who stepped outside were stunned. The wind cut like needles against their cheeks. Their boots sank into knee-deep drifts, and their cars looked like they'd been sitting through a week-long blizzard instead of just a few hours. By 3 a.m., the storm had carved 2 very different worlds across the region. Inland towns saw scattered flakes at best, but along the shoreline from Pleasant Prairie through Racine and into Kenosha, nature was unleashing one of the most intense early-season lake-effect events Wisconsin had experienced in years. The sky was a swirling blur of white, the roads impossible to navigate, and even seasoned Midwest drivers admitted they had never seen snow build this fast, this early, or with this kind of fury. When morning finally arrived, the damage was undeniable. Cars entombed under 8 to 13 inches of fresh snow-side streets, blocked by towering drifts and plow crews, struggling to keep up with a storm that had worked through the night, like a relentless, unstoppable machine. What made this storm so shocking wasn't just the amount of snow, it was the science behind the monster. Meteorologists across Wisconsin were glued to radar screens overnight as an unusually warm Lake Michigan collided head-on with a surge of brutally cold, Arctic air. The lake, still holding on to fall warmth and sitting several degrees above normal, acted like a giant engine pumping heat and moisture straight into the sky. By the time that air sliced inland, it had transformed into towering snow clouds capable of dropping 3 inches per hour in hyper-localized bands. This wasn't the typical Midwest winter storm Wisconsinites are used to. Experts described it as a perfectly aligned lake effect setup, the kind that usually slams western Michigan, not Wisconsin's shoreline. But on this night, the wind direction shifted just enough to push the heaviest snow westward, unleashing nature's full power on communities that rarely take the brunt of these events. Neighborhoods just a few miles apart experienced completely different realities. In central Racine, cars were buried. In western Kenosha County, drivers saw little more than a light dusting. Meteorologists call this the lake effect lottery. But early on November 10th, anyone living along the shoreline didn't just lose the lottery. They got hit with one of the strongest early-season lake effect bands the region has seen in decades. By dawn, the National Weather Service confirmed what residents had already felt in their bones. This storm wasn't just rare, it was historic. A once-in-several-years collision of temperature, wind, and lake energy that transformed Wisconsin's quiet Sunday night into an unforgettable winter blast. By sunrise, southeastern Wisconsin felt less like a Midwestern suburb and more like the frozen set of a winter survival film. In Kenosha and Racine, families opening their front doors were met with walls of snow, so deep they reached the middle of car doors and nearly swallowed porch steps. Drifts piled up to 3 or 4 feet in some spots where the wind funneled through driveways and alleyways, sculpting sharp ridges and icy waves that looked like frozen dunes. Engines groaned as drivers tried to free vehicles entombed in thick, wind-packed snow. Some residents had to dig tunnels just to reach their mailboxes. Parents across both counties woke to their phones buzzing non-stop school closures, delayed starts, emergency alerts. Kenosha Unified canceled everything. Gateway Technical College delayed campus openings until mid-morning. What should have been a normal Monday instantly flipped into crisis mode. Parents scrambled to rearrange work schedules. Zoom meetings turned into camera-off chaos as kids ran through the background in pajamas, hyped from an unexpected snow day. On the streets, the world moved in slow motion. Snowplows crawled through intersections, pushing towering mounds to the roadside. The air was filled with the metallic scrape of shovels, the roar of snowblowers, and the occasional thud of someone slipping on an icy driveway. Neighbors shouted instructions across the street, their voices muffled by scarves and swirling snow. Even short routine trips, a grocery run, a school drop-off, a drive to work, became high-stakes journeys through blinding gusts, slick black ice, and visibility so low, it felt like driving inside a snow globe that someone wouldn't stop shaking. Every corner of daily life shifted. DoorDash shut down. Mail deliveries stalled. Trash pickup was delayed. Even pets hesitated at their doorsteps, paws sinking instantly into powder. And yet, as chaotic as it was, the storm pulled communities together. People helped dig out strangers' cars. Teens shoveled sidewalks for elderly neighbors. Coffee shops in downtown Kenosha stayed open late, serving hot drinks to residents who'd spent hours battling the elements. The lake effect blast didn't just disrupt routines, it transformed the rhythm of the entire region, turning an ordinary day into a shared test of endurance, patience, and grit. By sunrise, the human impact of the storm was impossible to ignore. Roads across Racine and Kenosha turned into white wind-sculpted obstacle courses where blowing and drifting snow erased lane markings, covered stop signs, and swallowed entire intersections. Even main highways saw dangerous slick spots as snow settled on pavement, chilled by days of freezing temperatures. Emergency officials urged drivers to stay home, warning that travel ranged from hazardous to nearly impossible anywhere near the lakeshore. Schools across the region quickly announced snow days. The Kenosha Unified School District shut down all campuses, citing deep drifts and parking lots that couldn't be cleared fast enough. Gateway Technical College delayed its opening as crews struggled to dig out entrances and walkways buried under dense, wind-packed snow. For parents, it was an unexpected morning of rerouting schedules, and for kids, the first real winter day of the season. Commuters who did brave the conditions faced miles of crawling traffic, slow visibility, and gusts topping 30 mph that whipped snow across their windshields. Plows were out in force, more than 300 across southeastern Wisconsin, but even they couldn't keep up with snow that was falling faster than it could be cleared. Across towns hugging Lake Michigan, the message was clear. The storm wasn't just inconvenient, it was a full-blown shutdown of daily life. Wisconsin's first major winter blast had arrived early, and it came with all the force of mid-January packed into one chaotic November morning. While southeastern Wisconsin dug itself out, the storm was only one piece of a much larger winter outbreak sweeping across the country. The Great Lakes region braced for up to 18 inches of rapidly falling lake-effect snow, with meteorologists warning of dangerous thunder. Now those rare electrifying moments when lightning cracks through a wall of white. In Michigan's Upper Peninsula, visibility dropped to near zero as snow piled over a foot in some towns, burying cars and leaving rural roads nearly impassable. Indiana faced its own hazards, with forecasts calling for up to 11 inches and slick highways that turned even short drives into white-knuckle trips. Farther west, bitter Arctic air blasted through Minnesota, Nebraska, and South Dakota, sending wind chills plunging toward 0 °C and coating open fields in blowing powdery snow. Meanwhile, the cold surged deep into the south from Texas to Georgia, triggering freeze warnings across states more accustomed to warm November afternoons. Gardeners scrambled to save what was left of their plants as forecasters announced the growing season officially over. Across the map, one thing was clear: winter had arrived early, and it wasn't easing in gently. From frozen plains to snow-choked lake shores, Americans everywhere were getting their first taste of a season that promised to be fierce, unpredictable, and unforgettable. As the snow settles and the winds finally die down, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. This wasn't just another winter storm, it was a warning shot. From Kenosha to Racine, from the Great Lakes to the Deep South, America just got a preview of what this winter may look like. And if this is only the beginning, we're in for a season that demands preparation, awareness, and resilience. But storms like this also show us who we are. Neighbors helping neighbors, families watching out for one another, entire communities digging out together long before sunrise. That spirit is what gets us through the coldest nights. If this story helped you understand the intensity of these early winter systems, don't let it stop here. Like this video to support more real-time, severe weather coverage. Share it with a friend who needs to be prepared for what's coming. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another storm breakdown or extreme weather update. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Do you think this early season snowstorm is a sign of a harsher winter ahead or just a freak event? And have you ever experienced a lake effect storm this intense? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your stories and experiences could help someone stay safe during the next one. Stay warm, stay ready, and above all, stay safe out there.